viewers. Thank you for once again joining us on our second season of The Story of. This time around, featuring yours truly, Michael Bouey. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here with you so that we may continue this exciting story of Michael Bouey. And you get to tell us a little bit more about what it's sort of the struggles and what it takes to sort of make it in this very dog eat dog industry that is the entertainment industry. For those of you that don't know, I'm going to let you know, but I would prefer if you would watch the first few episodes of the story of Michael Bouey so that you know what we are talking about. For those of you who watched last week, Michael was sort of beginning to tell us a little bit about his end of high school years, and sort of what he was planning to do after high school, right? I can see him getting settled in right now. But Michael, whenever whenever you're ready. Again, last week you mentioned, you told us that your senior year, your senior year of high school, you did not feel like you wanted to go straight to college. So the question has to be asked: what did you end up doing, sort of immediately after high school?
Well, let's back up just a smidge because it was a point where I said I didn't want to go into to high school or to college. I wanted to go into the military. I wanted to go into the army, and I had told my parents that. And like I had said, my parents come from like a prestigious background of highly educated individuals with their PhDs and masters and everything. So they really stressed to me the importance of wanting to go to school, and I'm like, I don't want to. I'm 18. It's my choice. It's my life. I will do with my life what I want to do. I felt like going into the military was an easy way to travel, make money, and be able to still pursue my dream, um, without having to go and do another 4 years of my entire life inside of school after 12. I really was adamant about wanting to go out there and get started with this dream that I was so passionate about. Like I said, I mean, looking at seventh and eighth grade, I lost that, and looking at high school, I had gained that back. And so it to me it was more like let's not waste any more time or have another relapse of 4 years like I had a relapse of 2 years where I just lost that passion. And so my parents, my mom said, well, you know what, you go to college, we'll pay for everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. Like my car, the gas in my car, where I was staying, food, books. I mean, they literally paid for everything, left me with like a small amount for me to pay on my own. But in the same point is, it was like, all right, well, fuck it. If I'm gonna go to college, I can at least major in something that I love doing. So I had agreed to do this, but some things just happen for a reason. So it wasn't very long after I graduated. I graduated in like a May of 2001. It wasn't very long after that a friend of mine contacted me, and she said, "Hey, they're filming this movie here. Do you want to be a part of it?" Now, in my entire life, I had not done anything with like major motion pictures or anything. Everything was kind of like low scale kind of stuff. And I was like, a movie? I mean, this maybe it's a call. Maybe I shouldn't go to college. And I was like, well, no, I've already said I would. I'll do it, whatever. All right, I'll do the movie. What's the name of the movie? And she's like, it's called 8 Mile with Eminem. Now, I'm a huge 8 Mile fan, okay? And so I'm like, say less. I'm there. It was, I think, a 5 day shoot, and I ended up being a background artist inside of the in battle scenes where he battles Free World. So anytime that he's inside of that battle scene, except for at the very beginning, everything at the end, that's where I was. And if you look very closely, you'll be able to catch me. I mean, I'm in the movie about 40 times in that scene where it shoots towards me, like front row and center with glasses, blue coat. You can't really miss me. I'm on the DVD itself, so they printed like the crowd on there. You can see me right above the microphone on the DVD. I'm on the back DVD. I'm in the deleted scenes. I'm in this movie uh, quite often, and it's almost become a highlight. I don't like talking about myself and the things that I do because a lot of people, we talk about bullying. They would put me down. Well, you're just an extra. Well, bitch, what did you do anything inside of it? Were you even in the parking lot when they were filming it? I mean, hey, that's still big to be inside of that movie and be seen and be visible, regardless of having any lines, regardless of anything else. That was something that really made a difference in my life. I was able to shake hands and talk with Eminem, Mekhi Phifer, very briefly. To be a part of that experience. Of like an actual movie was
Yeah.
like huge, and like for everybody, I went and saw it when it came out of theaters 4 times. I paid to see it 4 times, and I got invited to the after party or the private screening. So I went to the screening of 8 Mile. Um, it was just it was all of the things that I wanted to be inside the movie industry right there, coming out of high school before even going to college. That was my experience. Um, and so yeah, that's how
Yeah.
that played out.
Damn, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm left a little speechless. I did not know this. This is news to me. So this is ridiculous. And both of us being from Michigan, I think we hold Eminem to a, on a pedestal sort of. And you got to be on screen with him again, regardless if you had any lines, if you had any close-ups. You were on screen on arguably what is one of the most iconic films in the rap world, so to speak. So like that's incredible. Um, so it has to be asked, and I don't want to, sort of go too far away from this, but what other opportunities did you have sort of before before going to college or even during college? What other opportunities presented themselves? Because things like this don't come often. I mean, shit, but you got one. So what other things did you do sort of like this?
I feel like this was my big opportunity. There wasn't anything that was bigger than that happened during college. I mean, to me, this was the point where it was like, I'm ready to do this. All I need to do is learn more about this industry, because I can't go there just because I was in 8 Mile doesn't mean that I have the knowledge of the industry. I mean, I was exposed to it even inside of a 5 day time period, and I couldn't even do the fifth day. I had to cancel, which I'm kind of upset. They were taking people at the last day, asking them if they wanted to rap against Eminem, so and footage that they would use, which is in the deleted scenes. So I wasn't there that day, but I was at a point where I was freestyling, back inside of high school. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to write some shit and kill him. I mean, they were taking whoever to rap against him, and you'll see some of those people that stepped up to Eminem, and Eminem killed them. But that would have been iconic for me. I mean, those people. I'm sure their name is big. And one of the big things that I really remember from that, there's this girl, her name was Sarah, and she was there filming there, and this was a couple of months before she actually was on MTV's, I forget the name of the shows, with Puff Daddy, where he sent them to get cheesecake for him, making the band.
Okay,
Was it making the band?
I can't. I wouldn't be able to
I
tell.
think
I
it's
don't remember.
making the band. But she was there filming inside of that movie too. And the best part, the best, most iconic thing I love about it is when I was in the crowd, front row and center at the front of that stage, I was standing next to Proof. Um, and
Yeah.
Proof, that he's one crazy motherfucker. Rest in peace. Um, he was putting like grapes in his nose and blowing them out at me and other people. He's weird. And then he lit like he had a lighter and he lit the flame near my eye. I was like, and I can't say it's Proof. I mean, what can you say? I mean, he's just
Yeah.
crazy and just doing shit, like crazy shit. It's definitely one of my best memories. But to kind of segue back to what you were talking about, is I did not have any moments bigger than that. My moments were trying to learn. So I took classes and everything on that. And I had to find, I wasn't going to a film school. I offered to try and go to NYU. My parents said no because it's $40,000 a year to go to NYU. I wasn't even going to go to college, so it was kind of late. So when I put in applications to even go to college, I only put in one to Eastern.
And how sort of how much time did it take you to sort of convince yourself, or I don't maybe even just work the courage up to say, you know what, it's time to go to college. How long did it take you for you? When did you decide, hey, let me go to college, and sort of what did you go to college for? What were your classes about? What were your classes in? What did you get a degree in if you
Well,
made
I
it there?
mean, that's kind of what happened. Is I I only put in for one college,
Hmm.
and they denied me. I got a denial letter. Because I wasn't going to go at first, and I had waited so long. By the time I put in something, I only put in one application. Everything else was kind of closed. They had already taken everybody, and I put in for Eastern, the one college I put in for, and they said no. And I was like, well, I guess it was meant to be. I did 8 Mile, and they want me to go do this, and I'm denied on Eastern. But inside their letter, they said, hey, you didn't do high enough on your ACT. Retake it again, and if you get a high enough score, we'll bring you into some program called the Pass program or something like that.
Okay.
And so I ended up retaking the exam. And like 2 weeks later, I don't even know what I got. Didn't even get my score back. To this day, I don't know what I got. But they sent me a letter saying you're into the pass program, which was basically a program where you go and you take classes inside of the summertime, and if you do well enough on a certain like C average basis, then you can attend classes in the fall. So I ended up passing the pass program and attending classes, and I was picking my major, trying to find something that's close to film. And during the time, they had something called telecommunications and film that I signed up for to do that as my major and as my minor theater arts. Because even though I did drama like inside of high school, I wasn't a huge drama fan. Like the theater experience is great, but I liked the movie aspect, especially from working at Blockbuster and just being engrossed inside of movies. So I did telecommunications and film, which was kind of like a variety of different talents, which ended up later being renamed electronics media as the final name of my degree, because they renamed it maybe about 2 or 3 years in. But electronics media, aka telecommunications and film, it covers so many different things: radio, TV, and film. And it's from the writing perspective and in front of the camera perspective. So I learned everything from editing, writing, you know, improv, acting, costume design, set design, those kinds of things. I had to do and be a part of a radio show for the campus, that I had to do every Saturday. So those were the kinds of classes that I took outside of my general ed throughout my entire year. I feel like I did learn a lot, but I don't think that I learned enough. I worked with soundboards and camera work and all that other stuff, which was cool. But even now, like with stuff that I'm doing now, those aren't the same cameras that I'm using, and I don't think those are the same cameras that they were using it on 8 Mile. So whatever they were doing was just generic, to show you however to do stuff. And I don't remember their editing software, but it wasn't the kind of software that people use for movies and stuff.
Right.
So, but it still gave me that aspect. I wouldn't say that I learned a lot from college experience that I could apply to going out to California to pursue my dream, which was the intent. But I feel like I learned enough to kind of get by. And the rest really came from hands on, from being out there in California. And that was the goal, to finish college and go out there. And I'm not going to lie,
Mhm.
I messed around my sophomore year because my freshman year I had great grades. My sophomore year, I started working at Red Robin. A lot of those people were partying a lot, and so I got engrossed with partying a lot, and I was failing classes, not going to classes, skipping classes, whatever the case may be. And so it put me behind a year and a half. So it ended up taking me 5.5 years to get out. And in my last 2 years, I was working 4 or 5 jobs. I think it was 5 jobs total, while going to two different colleges and taking classes for 2.5 years straight just to get out in 5.5 years. Because while I was there, I was taking the wrong classes. No one told me you had to take certain classes just to get certain things to graduate. And I didn't care. It was just go to college. That's what I was told. So there was no guidance. I didn't reach out to get guidance. So it was a rough time, but in my opinion, I think it was also one of the best times of my life was to go to college, and the experience that I had from going to college, the people that I met, the moments that were made, the people that I came across and befriended to this day is the best time of my life outside of California.
So, and again, if you guys, the viewers, if you don't know, we are building up to sort of Michael's moment of history, which you're gonna have to tune in to learn what it is about. But I want to ask you something. For all the viewers that are watching, Michael, anybody that is really connecting with your story, if there was something, people are taking from your story a lot of things. They're taking bits and pieces here and there, whatever they may relate to. If you could do something different, if there was something that you could go back and do different to sort of maybe get to where you are now, or even get yourself ahead as an actor, as a producer in in the entertainment industry, what would it be? What advice would you sort of give your younger self or somebody trying to make it, hearing your story, trying to make it? What advice would you give them? What things would you do different?
Number one, I would take the right classes, but
Right. Okay.
that would help. But I honestly think that it comes from I should have been looking for the same kind of moments and experiences and opportunities like 8 Mile during that time. I spent too much time partying and living the college experience. I spent too much time um, working 4 or 5 jobs versus going out to look for more of those moments, that experience to kind, and they're out there. It wasn't like it wasn't out there. Um, and I even started to do, and people don't really know this about me. I don't talk about it often, but that was one of the things I got into probably fresh out of um, high school going into college. I decided to become part of a talent agency because I felt like if I become part of a talent agency, then maybe I can get those moments. But I didn't really like them, and that's why I didn't really progress it even further. But this talent agency was geared towards modeling, so I ended up doing modeling in my life. I did a couple of runways. Doing modeling, had to learn. There's a certain walk that you have to walk, and certain pace and everything, and steps, and how you turn and everything. And modeling was really cool too. They provide the clothes and everything, and it just gave me a sense of that experience. Like I said, I've done so many different things in the entertainment industry, and it's hard. Like I'm talking fast because I'm trying to get so much in there because there's so many different things that I did, and I don't want to miss out on talking about. But for my younger self or for anybody else that wants to do it, get as much experience, do as much as possible, because at the end of the day, whether you go far, whether you have speaking lines or if you're just an extra, it's stuff that's under your belt that you have that boosts your talent, your experience, and your resume of work.
Definitely. Well said. Very, very well said. So, before we go, I wanted to sort of ask you, you touched a little bit on this, but could you tell us a little bit more about, you said get yourself out there and take all the experiences, all the opportunities that present themselves. Um, During college, or even maybe after you graduated college, you got your degree, what opportunities presented themselves? Like when you graduated college, did you go right into your field, or what opportunities sort of you have to look for in order to get your foot in the door to the entertainment industry, sort of to get where you are now?
Well, I don't want to talk directly coming out of of college, and here's why.
Hmm.
I was down to my last class. I needed to graduate. I had failed chemistry like 3 or 4 times. Somehow I got through high school without taking it and got to college, and they're like, you have to take it and pass it if you want a degree. I'm like, I have no clue what they're talking about. Science to this day doesn't mean anything to me. So I waited to the last minute, and I had chemistry and math to kind of finish. And I forget which one out of the two, but out of one of those, I think it was the chemistry class, I needed to take the final. I think I was failing the class or very close to it. If whatever it was, I needed to pass the final in order to pass the class. Okay, so I go and I take the final, and you don't even get your results back when you take a final for like a week or two. And
Yeah.
so I took the final. I sold all my stuff in my apartment, all of it, down to whatever I can fit into my car. I got a brand new car as a graduation gift from my parents, um, a Saturn, a 2000, I want to say 2006 Saturn Ion green. And so I packed that car with whatever I had. After I took that final, the day after, I packed up the car, and the day after that, I got in the car and I drove from Detroit, Michigan to California straight, nonstop, no breaks, no let's go take a nap, didn't stop at a hotel or anything. I drove it straight through from Detroit to California. 36 hours it took me straight because I was so adamant with wanting to finish school, wanting to get out there and start this career after I was supposed to do 4 years and did 5.5.
Hmm.
I had to get out there and start this dream. Enough was enough because if I waited any longer, I was going to be older and time would have passed me by. So that's kind of sets you up for how we're going to start probably the next episode to talk about what happened when I got out there to California. But That was the dream. Finish school, and granted, I did pass the class. I passed the final, and passed the class. So I did end up coming back when I was in California to walk during graduation. But I literally went out there without the notion of knowing if I was going to even graduate or not. Uh, and I sold everything I had and got up whatever money I could and drove straight out there.
And okay, sort of to, and I promise this is my last question to close out. So, and this is more of your personal opinion, and I don't want to go back too much on what I said earlier, but are you happy things worked out this way? I mean, are you happy that you didn't just straight out of high school said, you know what, let me go to Cali? Or are you happy that you decided not to go to the into the army, or are you feeling like, damn, maybe I could have still gone into the army some years later? Are you happy things worked out this way for you?
You know, that's a tough question because I told you in past episodes, if you miss one traffic light, your entire life is altered and changed completely.
Yeah.
You don't realize that. Use that as a comparison. Is I don't know what life would be like if I went into the military instead of college. Maybe it would have been worse. Maybe I got killed while being deployed, or anything, or I started to like the military, or I got arrested. I don't know.
Well,
I
I guess that's
to ask. I'm sorry, not I'm just trying to thinking and taking it all in because that is such a good question. I honestly would say that I like the way things happen, but if I knew that they would be different and be better, maybe I would be successful out of college because I didn't, and I ended up pursuing that. If I did do the military with acting, yeah, but I don't know if that would be the case. What has happened is what has happened, and so I'm happy with where I'm at now.
well said, perfectly said. A wise man once said, if you knew the consequence behind the choice you make, would you still have made that choice? And I think this is a good way to a good spot to close it out so that we may open next week. You guys heard it here first, folks. Michael's getting ready to tell us about his what I would consider his breaking point in a good way. His quest for fame. And that last question. Your story isn't over. The story of Michael Bouey isn't over. It isn't over yet. So even after we're done with this season, your story continues. So we want to definitely stay tuned. All of our viewers, thank you guys for watching. Michael, any last closing comments, concerns, questions, maybe?
I mean, I definitely want to leave people with some type of inspiration, and my story really says it all. There really shouldn't be anything else that I can add to it. You can see the trials and tribulations and the goods and the bads, and all of those make you who you are. I wouldn't, you say, would I be do it any differently or do anything differently? And everything that happens to you, whether it's good or bad, it molds you and builds you to who you are. And who I am is a great person. Would I have been less? Would I have been more? I don't know, but I'm not a shitty person. I'm not someone out there doing bad. I'm not someone that's been to jail or anything. That's out there committing crime and murder or anything. Like, I'm a good person, genuine, and passion driven. I refuse to give up, and so at the end of the day, I think that's the bigger message: is to never give up. I don't care what your age is, how much time has passed. Stop making excuses and start making action. I mean, that's the only way that you can move forward. You can never move to your end goal if you're taking steps backwards. You can never move to your end goal if you stay still where you're at, and you'll never make your end goal if you're making a couple steps forward and then shit happens and then you take some steps back. So always keep moving forward. Doesn't matter how slow or how fast, move forward and never give up. And at some point, you'll make it to the end.
Definitely. I like it, man. I like it. Once again, we want to thank you for, telling us about your struggles, about your story, the story of Michael Bouey. To everybody watching at home, make sure to comment any questions you may have for Michael for next week. Like the video, subscribe to get notified when we go live. This is a story you do not want to miss. We are getting near that point, that climax point. So make sure you tune in next week, same time, same channel. You saw it here first, man. Subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Whatever you do.